fledgling god! Take my sword!
Oculus and Sanzaru Games have made something incredibly special with Asgard's Wrath, which I've been playing on the Oculus Rift, and it's been really impressive for me. This is a game that I thought, at first blush, it was going to be kind of one of those hack and slash, immerse you into the role of a warrior, and you're just sort of slicing through bad guys and maybe bashing them with your shield. And there is an element of that here for sure. That's part of the game design, but it's much, much broader than that.
Use your new skills wisely.
You play as a god, and you are connected to Loki, so there's this whole Norse mythology that's running through the entire narrative of the game, which is pretty cool. Of course, we're very familiar with Norse mythology because of all of the Thor movies out there, and God of War, so you do feel this instant connection to the environments and the setup. It's very fun, and it's also very cool, and there's lots of impetus for battle that it just fits. Contextually, it's like, yeah, I'm familiar with this world. I can get this. But what you do is you start this game as a god. So you have god powers and you have a god's vantage point on the experience as well. It's incredibly freeing and you feel unbelievably powerful. First of all, let me just say that the game is massive and it's spread out over many realms, and there's a lot of variance within the environments that you're going to see. You really kind of kick off into the adventure on Midgard after you get this preamble inside of this pub where Loki basically tells you what your role is and what you got to do, and you got to go off and collect all kinds of magical items and take down bad guys. And you also have to inhabit the bodies of warriors. One of the very first things that you do when you're on Midgard is you pick up a shark, and you take your shark into one hand, and then you take your other hand and you transmute that shark into a shark friend. And that's, within, I don't know, the first 30 minutes of the game, and it's like, oh my god, I'm in for something special here. So you have this shark friend that's going to come along with you and attack enemies and also jump up and grab corpses and activate these doorways and levers, and he becomes incredibly useful. He becomes a big part of the complexities of the game, but also your enjoyment of the game. And I was just like, what? This is incredible. I love that whole idea and that whole concept. So right away, I was in on this game. And of course, that isn't all you get to transmute. You get to create a turtle buddy and you get to create an eagle buddy, and there are lots of different animals that you can turn into your friends. So it's almost like, I guess it's like a violent Pokemon in a way. You can collect these creatures and turn them into, half human, half animal pals that will do your bidding and take care of all kinds of enemies for you, which is really cool. You also get this ability to kind of move from a human form, because that's the other big chunk of this game, is after you've transmuted a creature, you've become a human. And so you look at the world from the human scale, and then you can also, when you want to, become the god and look at it from a god scale. And so you can manipulate objects, you can build bridges and things like that, or grab a creature over here and put the creature over there. If you need your shark guy to unlock a door up on a cliff top, you can do that. Feels a little bit like Molyneux's Black and White or Populous, where you're kind of interacting with the world and the objects around you from a god's perspective, and it's almost like you've got this little toy sandbox in front of you. Amazing. Then you can inhabit the body of a warrior, and that's when you get into your hack and slashing and avoiding the enemies that are poking at you or jumping at you, and it's actually quite ferocious. It actually feels pretty damn good to bash them with a shield, slice at them with the proper movements. You can also parry and block attacks and catch them off balance and chip away at their armor, eventually decapitate them if you've done that correctly. You also earn the ability to get an axe and hurl the axe and then pull it back to you just like you're wielding Mjolnir, which is really damn cool. And then of course you also get bow and arrow options. You can shoot flame arrows and things like that into targets. Also are activating all kinds of levers and access points, and there's tons of collectibles whether you're at human scale or god scale. There's also a tremendous amount of puzzle solving and exploration through dungeons and things. So it's almost like a third adventure role-playing experience, a third action combat experience, and a third god game type of experience. And you're floating back and forth between these different viewpoints on the game engine, which is beautifully rendered, gorgeous lighting, great visual effects. It really does feel solid when you're entering into these dungeons or when you come back to home base, which is this pub where you do your shopping and your crafting and your upgrading. All of these elements really click into place, and it's unbelievably immersive. Certainly a chunk of this game plays like a lot of VR experiences, which I think are akin to a lot of the 3D movies from the 1950s, you know, where there's a lot of stuff coming at you and you got to deal with all kinds of stuff flying in your face and hacking and slashing and bashing, and little flying creatures and stuff will come right by your eyeballs. That's cool, though. That's kind of what we want out of VR at this stage. It hasn't become the holodeck, and we're on the road to the holodeck. Eventually we'll get there, but we've got to put these building blocks together.
A whole world of possibilities awaits.
Now, it's not perfect. Had some crashes on my computer, which is a pretty robust Alienware M17. I didn't have everything completely boosted to ultra settings or anything like that because it's a laptop. It's not a tower, so I don't have everything running at high capacity. And I was also streaming and I was also downloading. So I had a lot of things happening on the computer at the same time. When I simplified it and just made the game run, it ran much better and there were a lot less issues. It has unbelievably long load times, and that's frustrating, especially if you're streaming them out because people are waiting and waiting for action. But it is a total escape when you get lost in it, and it's a fulfilling escape. This is a game that I think kind of legitimizes VR in some really significant ways. The game is like a 40-hour massive action adventure role-playing experience, you know, with dungeon crawling and puzzles to solve and enemies to defeat and lots of back and forth perspective shifting and lots of incredible weaponry to purchase and to upgrade. And it all feels tactile and polished and refined. And importantly, this was all built under the guidance of Oculus, recognizing what Sanzaru wanted to do. They gave them the time, they gave them the budget, and they built something really, really special. And it does a terrific job kind of underlining the value and the opportunity and the potential that virtual reality does provide today. This is, I would say, as close to state-of-the-art in VR game making as I have seen. It's not just VR for VR's sake. It feels like it was devised from the ground up to be something special, using the mechanics that virtual reality provides for people. You feel like you're in the boots of a warrior. You feel like you're commanding these animal troops in a very special way. It feels incredible to enter these arenas and these dungeons and stuff and not know exactly how things are going to turn out, but it feels like you're so present in these spaces. It's really mind-blowing, and it's really wonderful.
You expect me to be impressed? Why, I could have slayed the beast with one hand tied behind my back.
I am blown away by Asgard's Wrath. This is absolutely a must-buy if you've got an Oculus Rift system. Good job, Oculus. I'm glad that you supported this game and got this thing out there. This is going to be one of those showpiece games where, you know, you've got friends over and you want to show them what VR is capable of. It's capable of Asgard's Wrath. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.